They create a token of the Sepulchral Primordial. So they grab the Archfiend of Ifnir and the Clever Impersonator as well. Yeah, another copy of the Primordial. I don't know if there's any more creatures left to grab. Could at least take one from Muldrotha, I imagine. Mataconda77 very generously gave me a year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Replaying the ever-popular Yawgmoth Thran Physician today up against Muldrotha, Rakdos and Tanazir. Don't think I've played against Tanazir before. We have a 2-lander. Yeah, we can clamp on the Butcher Ghoul if we're desperate, so yeah, we'll keep it. Getting to Archfiend of Ifnir to start things off. I don't want to play out the Skull Clamp on turn 1 when we've got nothing to do with it, so we might do that on turn 3. Go for Butcher Ghoul on turn 2, I think. Altar of the Brood for the Muldrotha player, followed by a bounce land, so they'll get their Temple of Melody back into play next turn most likely, which will allow them to scry again. Another swamp for us is really good, so we'll go for this Butcher Ghoul. Replicating Ring for the Simic player. And then Rakdos just playing a land and passing. The Temple of Melody does come back into play for the Muldrotha player. And then they go for cycling a Lonely Sandbar. They've also got a 1-drop in Caustic Caterpillar, one of the better creatures that you can have in Muldrotha. So I'm not all that happy about running out of Skull Clamp now, but we have got our 4th land for Yawgmoth, so yeah, no, turn 3 play feels pretty bad, but we'll go for the Cavern of Souls, naming human. We are up against some blue decks, so I don't want to risk losing the Cavern of Souls to a wheel or something. Scurry Oak, part of a combo piece from the Simic player, so you know, we'll have to look out for infinite squirrels and plus counters over there. Rakdos continuing to do nothing over here at 4 lands and 7 cards, hasn't done anything yet. Maybe just waiting to wipe the board. Anyway, the Caustic Caterpillar going down and that blows up the Replicating Ring. And then it's round to our turn. I have a feeling that the Rakdos player is waiting for us to get our commander into play, so I'm not going to do that. We've just drawn into Nest of Scarabs. I could have done with that last turn because it would be nice to get the Sifter of Skulls into play. We'll play the Nest of Scarabs followed by the Petrified Field. Okay, and there's a Reclamation Sage. People don't like having their stuff milled, so it might go on Altar of the Brood. Should probably go on Nest of Scarabs though. They might be reactionary for the Mana Rock being blown up as well. Yeah, it is going after Altar of the Brood. I don't think they're anywhere close to a combo with that. And they can easily get it out of the bin again, so yeah, probably would have gone for the Nest of Scarabs there myself. Anyway, the Scurry Oak triggers because the Reclamation Sage has more power, so that evolves and it does create a Squirrel token. And then the 2-3 going in towards the Muldrotha player. 5 mana now and still continuing to hold up. I'm pretty sure that they're holding up a board wipe over here and not wanting to commit anything to the board. So there's Sir Conrad the Grim. And it's round to our turn. Maybe it's just time to start Skull Clamping. We've got an Endrick Sar. Yeah, I think it's just Skull Clamp. Rakdos player continuing to hold up mana over here. So it might be that they've got a means of artifact removal, allowing the Skull Clamp to land on Butcher Ghoul though. Sir Conrad will trigger because it is a creature going to the graveyard. And there we get into the lands for the turn. That's really good. So yeah, it's just Skull Clamp and pass, I reckon. Evolving Wilds from the Simic player and also Plane Kicked, a Gnarled Colony. So everything with a plus counter on it of theirs has trample now. Just deciding to pass at that. Okay, finally casting a spell. That is Walk the Plank. Destroy a target non-merfolk creature. That went on to Sir Conrad the Grim. So maybe the Rakdos player just looking to hold up spot removal for the rest of the game, which is, yeah, pretty bad for us. Okay, this time a Plaguecrafter, so we're at least going to draw some cards with the Butcher Ghoul. Would rather have kept that in play so we could put minus counters on it, but that's what Skull Clamp is for. Getting to Sengir Autocrat and a Lightning Greaves. Don't think we'll sneak a Lightning Greaves onto our commander, but we could always try, I suppose. Volrath's Stronghold as well could get the Butcher Ghoul back if we want to go infinite that way. I think we can throw down a swamp here and go for the Endrick Sar. And then can't afford the Lightning Greaves unfortunately, so we might as well throw Skull Clamp on this. So there we see the first commander of the game is Tanazir Quandrix. So they double the plus counters. Yeah, that was on the Scurry Oak, so that is a 5-6 with 4 plus counters on it now. And the 4-4 Gnarlid swings in at Muldrotha. The Scurry Oak goes in at the Rakdos player. Spore Frog for Muldrotha, which is even better than Caustic Caterpillar, so yep, Spore Frog, a huge pain in the neck. And then we see Clever Impersonator, so can copy any permanent here. And it is Tanazir that they go after. Yeah, so that's a curious one, not quite sure. Maybe it's just for the Flying and Trample? Yeah, not quite sure why they copied that one. I mean, I suppose they can just chump block and then when it goes down, recast the Clever Impersonator. Alright, so we've got Liliana of the Dark Realms, if we like. The Sifter of Skulls that just cares about non-tokens. Maybe we should just set up a little bit with Archfiend of Ifnir. We can go for the Lightning Greaves onto that as well. So let's go Lightning Greaves, see what the Rakdos player wants to do, if anything. Okay, just letting it down seemingly. Lightning Greaves on Endrix Sar. And then we'll go after the Archfiend of Ifnir. Gonna make a bunch of thralls here. Okay, and the Rakdos player doesn't seem to be interfering so far, so let's go for Lightning Greaves onto the Demon. We can turn that in sideways towards Muldrotha. And try and encourage them to use this Spore Frog. I don't think 5 damage in the air will persuade them, but we can try. Okay, just deciding to trade us the Clever Impersonator. So again, not quite sure what the aim was with the Clever Impersonator there. It has sort of acted like a removal spell here, but we're nowhere near going crazy with our commander and minus counters and stuff, so don't mind getting rid of their flyer there. It frees up this commander to do some commander damage to the Muldrotha player. So we'll go Lightning Greaves back onto Endrix Sar and pass the turn. A Herd Baloth being played by the Simic player to make some 4/4 beast tokens. And now turning in sideways with a bunch of creatures. So the commander trigger goes on the stack for the attack. And okay, we are getting the 4/4 flyer. I thought that would go in at the Muldrotha player. Muldrotha's getting some stuff on the ground. Yeah, so that is a bunch of 4/4s. And there we go, we see the Spore Frog get sacrificed, so that's fine. We don't take any commander damage. Alright, well, here we are, finally seeing the Rakdos player do something. Rakdos, the Showstopper, coming into play. And manages to get rid of most of our Thrall tokens, actually, and the Endrix Sar itself, so we'll draw some more. Finally getting some ramp in Arcane Signet. Oh, Sepulchral Primordial. I dare say that takes the Endrix Sar from us, maybe the Archfiend of Ifnir, but yeah, could take the Endrix Sar. Yeah, so grabbing our Endrix Sar there, I was actually wondering if we should grab that back with the Volrath Stronghold, but that's our decision made for us. Taking the Gnarled Colony as well. There wasn't anything to take from the Rakdos player apparently. So we won't bother with the Volrath Stronghold here, getting to another swamp. So let's just throw out a Sengir Autocrat here, we will get some Surf tokens to go alongside our Thrall tokens there. Noteworthy that it can't be countered because it is another human. And then we'll throw down the Arcane Signet as well and go for some Skull Clamps, I think. Go for the Surf tokens first with the Skull Clamp because if Sengir Autocrat goes down, then the tokens go down with him. Okay, Dictator of Erebos with tokens in play is pretty good. Clamp on another Surf. Okay, and a Vilis Broker of Blood. We can discard a couple of lands. I'll probably discard Liliana, to be honest. I don't think there's much chance of us going for the ultimate with her. Maybe we should hold on to it. Yeah, let's just go for Lightning Greaves. We can go Skull Clamp onto Sengir Autocrat and then Lightning Greaves on there. So we'll get rid of the Sifter of Skulls, I think. Yeah, could have some combo potential there. Yeah, let's just assume that we're going to get into more lands with the Skull Clamp and the tokens. And we'll just discard some lands there. Croaking Counterpart, I haven't seen this one played yet, from the, not Crimson Vow, it's from Midnight Hunt set, isn't it? Create a token and it's a 1/1 frog. They create a token of the Sepulchral Primordial, so they grab the Archfiend of Ifnir and the Clever Impersonator as well. And then Clever Impersonator on Reclamation Sage to get rid of the Skull Clamps, probably a good idea, but instead going for another copy, where is it? Yeah, another copy of the Primordial. I don't know if there's any more creatures left to grab. Could at least take one from Muldrotha, I imagine. Oh, actually, there's our Butcher Ghoul as well, so taking the Butcher Ghoul and the Sir Conrad the Grim from the Muldrotha player. And now the Simic player has 2 cards in hand. Looks like they're going to do something else as well. That is a Dusk Shell Crawler, which is another Trample Enabler. Puts a plus counter on the original Herd Baloth, which makes a 4/4 beast token. They're really playing into a board wipe here. So sending in Tanazir again, luckily doesn't have any plus counters on it. Tanazir swings in towards us, over the top of us. The currently 5/5 Baloth goes in at Rakdos. Squirrel goes in at Muldrotha, as does the Reclamation Sage. So everything's base power becomes a 4/4 thanks to Tanazir's power and toughness. And obviously this has a plus counter on it, so it's a 5/5. Just blocks the 5/5 with the Rakdos, which makes total sense. Not sure if they've got a means of an instant speed plus counter or something. The Gnarled Colony going on the 4/4 Reclamation Sage as well. So a couple of creatures go down there. The Sir Comrade will trigger twice. Rakdos swinging in at the Simic player. Only one card in hand over there. So just throwing our Archfiend of Ifnir underneath the Rakdos again, which triggers Sir Comrade the Grim. And then it is a Star of Extinction, and they are blowing up our Volrath stronghold. So all the creatures going to go down here. I think it is fair to say that we did need this board wipe. Simic player and the Muldrotha player are down to very few cards in hand as well. So the Butcher Ghoul comes back with Undying. I think it comes back under its owner's control. Yeah, so we will get the Butcher Ghoul back here. We will draw 2 cards with Skull Clamp, and Sir Conrad will trigger a bunch as well. I think it's safe to assume that the Simic player doesn't have any counter magic, because they certainly would have countered that, I imagine. But the 3 of us are down to quite a low life total, while the Simic player sits at 38. We get into some more lands, missing the Cabal Coffers at the moment mainly. So yeah, assume that the Muldrotha would come into play here. Just wondering if it's worth going for Liliana and starting to tick that up. Spore Frog coming back into play for the Sultai player. We get into Swiftfoot Boots for the turn. I think it might be worth going for the Liliana, Dreadhorde General. Best time to do Planeswalkers is after a board wipe. We've got 9 mana available to us. So we'll play out a Swamp ready for this Cabal Coffers that I'm sure we'll draw into soon. And then maybe the minus on Muldrotha is the wisest plan here. Yeah, I don't particularly want to leave Muldrotha in play. As much as I'd love to start ticking up Liliana, I think that's a wiser move. Probably should have put Skull Clamp on the Butcher Ghoul actually, but we're going to draw too many cards here as it is. So we draw a card with Liliana because one of our creatures just died. Okay, and that's a Genesis Chamber. So that means that we could get some nice fuel for our Yawgmoth as well as our opponents having minus counters put on their stuff, which is good with Nest of Scarabs. Yeah, that's a pretty good setup plan, I think. Obviously goes well with Skull Clamp as well. Discard another Swamp to hand size. Suspicious Stowaway comes down as the blue version. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw and then discard. And turns into a werewolf. You draw a card whenever it deals combat damage. Comes in with a Myr token, thanks to our Genesis Chamber, of course, as will all the creatures. Liliana, Dreadhorde General of his own, and going for the plus to make a zombie token. Sheoldred the Whispering One, that's one to play around, so it shouldn't be too damaging because players are likely to have Myr tokens to sacrifice, but it's certainly one to bear in mind. Going for Lightning Greaves as well, so can protect the Sheoldred down to 1 card in hand at least, and 8 life. And then leaving our Liliana alone, wanting to put 6 damage on the Liliana that's closer to the limit break. They do have Swamp Walk on this thing, so can't do anything about that over there. Actually, very happy about that. That means that not only does our Liliana get left in play, but we've got chance to deal with the Sheoldred before it can take it out with the Dictate of Erebos. So can't sacrifice a creature, of course, because we don't have one. Okay, Blood Artist, not terrible to draw into here. Let's go for Blood Artist before anything else. And then we can go Lightning Greaves onto the Blood Artist. Noteworthy that the Simic player is holding up priority, might have a Beast Within or something for our commander. Go for a plus on the Liliana, probably should have done that straight away so that no one had a chance to respond. And then we will cast our Yawgmoth, triggering the Genesis Chamber again. Throw Lightning Greaves onto the Yawgmoth. And I don't think it's likely that we're going to draw into a Cabal Coffers, but we'll certainly try. We need to draw into it right now so that we can tap it down with the untapped swamps that we have. So we'll draw 2 from the Skull Clamp and 1 from the Liliana. We'll try and leave the... I don't think it'll work, but we'll leave the Muldrotha player alone. we'll go after the Rakdos player with the Blood Artist. Just trying to not have that Sheoldred swing in at our Liliana. Nope, unfortunately not. Just getting into another swamp, so I think we just hold back blockers here. We'll go for the Jet Medallion and then drop a swamp. The Skull Clamp can go on the zombie and we will pass. Oh, pass through the turn there. Actually should have gone for the Liliana. Probably would have just got rid of the zombie, but then it would have freed up this player to swing in at Liliana. Yeah, that's a mistake. We'll get rid of Knight's Whisper, running low on life, and we've got enough cards anyway. Mere Token goes down to the Sheoldred, will point the Blood Artist at the Simic player. The 1-1 goes in towards Muldrotha, who will likely just throw the Mere Token in the way of that. Or not, surprisingly, allowing the card draw here, or the looting. Yeah, it is draw then discard, so a loot effect. Getting to look at one more card, the Simic player. Surprised they allowed that. They drew a card and discarded Song of Freyalise. I assume they'll just play their commander here, but maybe not. That will give them another Mere to sacrifice to the Sheoldred. But do we assume that Rakdos is coming in again next turn? Okay, Croaking Counterpart. So they flash that back onto the Blood Artist. And then go for Armorcraft Judge. That cares about plus counters. Yeah, they don't have plus counters on any of their stuff, so just trying to get a board going. Seems like a little bit of a waste of their cards to me, that. Because they're now empty-handed and they haven't really progressed their board any. Anyhow, let's go Blood Artist onto the Rakdos player. They had to sacrifice their creature there. And they did draw a card from their Liliana, which should be down by now. That was partly my fault. In fact, I think it was entirely my fault that it didn't go down. And there, yep, Liliana, Dreadhorde General, triggering lots of Blood Artist triggers. Skull Clamp, that is another board wipe in Bontu's Last Reckoning. Unfortunately, there's a Lightning Greaves over here, so they can go, yep, they can go for their Muldrotha again. So it looks like we have to try and knock out the Muldrotha player here. I think we have enough Blood Artist triggers to do this. Oh yeah, all of these Blood Artist triggers are ours. The frog ones are right here. Oh, and scooping at instant speed, that's not good. So that actually frees up some Blood Artist triggers for us, which might actually be relevant. Yeah, really shouldn't scoop at instant speed. I've said it a million times. But things like that can actually change the outcome of a game. And now it looks like the frog triggers are going on us, so it looks as though the Simic player wants to team up with the Rakdos player to get rid of us. Yeah, really annoyed about this Liliana. That should be down by now. Although it might be that the Simic player didn't take it out anyway if they wanted to team up with Rakdos. It is noteworthy that they might not want to play any more spells here because Bontu's Last Reckoning does keep them from untapping their lands. We draw a bunch from Skullclamp and Liliana. Got ourselves a Vamp Tutor. Could we do something with Vamp Tutor, I wonder? Okay, and surprisingly, they do want to cast something else after this. That is a Thorn of the Black Rose, so introducing the Monarchy. We are going to be able to get a flyer in to deal with the Liliana. Although maybe it's just worth going... Yeah, it's probably worth going Villis, Skullclamp and swing in at our opponent and get rid of them entirely. So why don't we just go Vamp Tutor for Cabal Coffers here. Tutored for that during the upkeep, so we will draw into it and drop the Cabal Coffers straight away. So Cabal Coffers taps for 7. We can go for the Villis, and that comes in with a token. Throw Skullclamp on the Villis, and Lightning Greaves onto Villis. And that can go crashing in towards the Rakdos player. They don't have any flyers, so can't do anything about this. I think we should take the Monarchy here. I don't think it goes down with the player. Some goofy things do happen with the Monarchy sometimes. Yeah, we did take it from them. So that gets rid of them. And now we're up against a player with no cards in hand and a bit less mana, I think. Might as well go for the plus on Liliana. We'll get Yawgmoth out again, which triggers the Genesis Chamber. And we'll go Lightning Greaves on Yawgmoth, I think. Don't necessarily mind losing the Villis. I don't think it's likely that we will anyway. Draw into Zulaport Cutthroat at the end of the turn, thanks to the Monarchy. Okay, with one card in hand, our opponent decides to pass it over here. Let's go for plus on Liliana before anything else. We might be able to set up a Haunt of Hightower win with Glistening Oil. That might be a cool way to win it. Or actually, we could win right now, couldn't we? Glistening Oil onto the Villis and then Proliferate will do it, won't it? So we'll play the Khan's Bastion for more Proliferate stuff. Glistening Oil onto the Villis. Glistening Oil's actually part of a combo, but we can win with Infect this way as well. Maybe they've got Cyclonic Rift or something like that. We've only spent 2 mana here, so not too worried about it. And our opponent's doing the honourable thing and taking the damage, so we'll go for Proliferate with Khan's Bastion, I think it's called. So Proliferate, 1 more Infect onto our opponent. I did just click it, so hopefully that registered. And there we go, managing to take our opponent down with some Infect. So, like I said, this is actually part of an Aristocrat combo. There is a 4-mana Aristocrat that deals damage as opposed to loss of life, so we can do some infinite shenanigans with that, but this works just as well. Hopefully you all enjoyed this revisit to Yawgmoth Thran Physician. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.